Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Motivational Monday on Justin and the Food Entrepreneurs podcast. Thank you, everyone, for listening in. Thank you for kicking some ass every day in your lives and being great entrepreneurs. The world owes you. So thank you guys very much. Thank you for everyone who's sharing the podcast. Please continue to share it on social media. And really come interact on our social media pages of more. Give comments, like the episodes. Tell us about the episodes you like. I love the emails. I love the direct messages. But I would really love if everyone really got out there and shared the things that are going on Instagram. Share the things that are going on Facebook. And go out there and follow us, number one. And number two, actually share it. I know a lot of people are passing on the episodes and word of mouth has gone a long way. So thank you guys very much. And we're all over the world and people are downloading us all over the world. And it's pretty amazing in over 47 countries. But really, we need to pass on the story. I mean, I'm spending 20 hours a week at least working on these podcasts. And the entrepreneurs who come on the show spend time preparing and prepping and reviewing questions and things like that and things they want to talk about, and then record the episode and then spend time to get their message out there. And they're trying to help everyone who's listening in. So I really, we don't charge anything for the podcast. We don't advertise, but really go out there and share it, because I think it's important that people get the message and people know that there's people out there like them, that are entrepreneurs, that are struggling, that are trying to build a dream. And so with that being said, the United States women's soccer team is freaking kicking some butt in the Women's World Cup. So go USA. And as the 4th of July is approaching us on Thursday, I think it's pretty important that we support the USA, support them. I'm pretty sure they're going to go all the way to the championship. So we're just 2 games away from that, which is pretty cool. The coolest part about all of it is victory, is that they're achieving something as a team. And I want to get back into that. But first, I'm going to give our quote of the day for this Motivational Monday. And it obviously has to be a U.S. women's soccer player or previous soccer player. So Hamm, one of the greatest, most well-known women's soccer players for the United States that in history so far. And her quote has to do with teams. So today's podcast, we're going to focus on teams. We're going to focus on winning. And we're going to focus on what it means to truly crush your opponents and why crushing your opponents is a favor to them. So here's the quote. Quote, "I am a member of a team. I rely on the team. I defer to it and sacrifice for it because the team, not the individual, is the ultimate champion." End quote. I'm going to say it again. Quote, "I am a member of a team. I rely on the team. I defer to it and sacrifice for it because the team, not the individual, is the ultimate champion." And I really want everyone to think about this, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a manager at your work, whether you're a person who's out there doing something. This is a lesson I have to keep in mind every day, that if I am a bad leader, my team is going to do poorly. And Hamm, she led her team, she led them, she performed with them, and they won championships. They won the World Cup for the women numerous times. But she did it in a way, and she led in a way not only through her actions, not only through her words, not only through her dedication and her perseverance on the field, but through being a great human being and leading the people around her. She truly led. And you can tell a difference between a great leader and a bad leader. That doesn't mean a bad leader can't become a great leader, but it takes a lot of work. And one of the things that are really important that we should understand as entrepreneurs, management is different than leadership. Management is the ability to manage and get everything in order in your business. Leading is the ability to get people to fight, move forward, fall forward, take risk, willing to accept failures without repercussion, and move forward with your team as a unit. Success in the entrepreneurial world relies on the team, one, that you put together, but two, your ability to lead them. And there's a lot of people out there, and I truly believe this, is that there's no bad team members. There's only bad leaders. So no matter what your hand has dealt you or God has dealt you for your hand, for employees, you need to figure out how to inspire them, get them to grow together, get them to be motivated and inspired and have goals. They need short-term goals to get to the long-term goals of your company. And you're responsible for that as an entrepreneur and as a leader. You need to set those own goals in your life. Every day, we've talked about it a lot. We do it every Motivational Monday. There's a lot of little things we set every week to go out and do. Sometimes it's go face failure. Go ask someone out to coffee that you wouldn't normally ask. Find a mentor that you normally wouldn't do. Go take that first step to be an entrepreneur and just jump off and start your business, start the social media, start exploring it, or quit your job and go learn about the things that you want to do. You only get one chance to live at life. And if you're not doing anything with it, I'm sorry, you're wasting it. You're wasting it, and you're wasting it for everyone around you. You know, as a team, you should always think of things as a team, and we do it in all of our life. Our families, team. You know, I go help my neighbor. Why? Because we live near each other. I feel like he's my teammate. We help each other when we need to help each other. I go weed whack his fence line when he needs it. I had to borrow his tractor a few times before I got my new John Deere tractor. That's right. Love that thing. But it's one of these things that we are part of the greater team as human beings, but we're also part of the teams in our home, and we're really part of the teams in our entrepreneurial world, in our businesses, and in the environments we live in. So how do we as human beings take the steps to be better leaders? And the first step, in my opinion, is we take responsibility when responsibility is necessary. When we fail, or our teams are failing, or our businesses are failing, it's no one else's fault but us as entrepreneurs. We need to lead differently. We need to pivot. We need to figure out what we're doing wrong, and we need to take responsibility for it, not only to ourselves, but to our employees, and let them know that it is our fault, that we need to do a better job, that we need to go out there and find better ways to lead them and motivate them and inspire them. And yes, they should be allowed to speak up about the ways that they think that they can help us. Remember, we talk about the open heart policy. I truly believe that we need to have an open heart to our employees, not only an open door. It has to be an open heart. We're there for them when they need us, not only for work, but for personal stuff. We need to be there. Why? Because that's what leadership is. Hardship, whatever, we need to make them believe they can get over those goals, because they will. Any human being that can set a goal can achieve that goal. Achievable goals, set small ones, within reasons. I'm not talking like suddenly Justin Bizzarro is going to end up on the moon, because that's not going to happen. Well, maybe it will if technology moves fast enough, but it's one of those things. It's not a goal of mine, and it's far reaching. So one of the goals is with this podcast, like I really try to do 3 episodes every week. I'm succeeding, and some weeks are harder than others. This week has been extremely hard. Traveling, went to Atlanta, traveled last week, went to Roanoke, Virginia, planes, trains, and automobiles. I'm trying to make sure I work out every day. I'm trying to make sure I drink enough water every day. I'm trying to make sure I get all my work done, which is 60 to 80 hours a week as it is, plus the podcast is taking 20 hours a week. Then I go through security, and something happens to my Apple laptop, which I put all the recordings on to upload and edit and do things like that. I try to leave them as raw as possible, but I do have to do editing here and there. And I lose all 3 podcasts that I recorded last week, including this Motivational Monday. And so I had to start all over again. And sometimes it's just like, God bless it. Like, why is this happening to me? Why? But maybe it's not happening to me. It's happening for me, which we talk about in a lot of other Motivational Mondays. But it is frustrating. And sometimes in that brief moment, I just want to quit doing the podcast. Why? Because I'm so frustrated that I have to go back, tail tucked between my legs, go ask these people to re-record their podcasts. But I'm the leader of the podcast. I'm the one. I'm out there. Guess what? Something goes wrong, my fault. I got to figure it out. I can't be the one to let everyone down. I've got to keep leading. I got to get the podcasts on there, and I got to keep moving forward. It's my responsibility. When I ask these people to be on the podcast, they're coming on the podcast because I'm going to do well by them. I'm going to lead them. I'm going to put their episodes out there. I'm going to market them. I'm going to do the things that I can. And do I need to do a better job? Yeah, because I got to tell you right now, the podcast is blowing up, and I appreciate everyone sharing it. And those of you who are listening in who aren't sharing it, please share the podcast. Like, you're taking the time to listen to it. I think it's really beneficial that other people hear it. I think we're helping a lot of people out there, and I think there's a lot of food and beverage and nutrition entrepreneurs out there that could use help and use mentoring, and the people who are coming on this podcast and sharing their story, they're all possible mentors. Reach out to them. They can be your teammates to help you grow. They can give you advice so you know that you're doing the better thing. Every team leader has someone above him that he looks up to for advice, including me. I have my family. I have, my father who's a mentor. I have people I work with who I look up to and ask advice for. I'm always asking. I have Deborah who I bounce things off of all the time. So, who's also an amazing entrepreneur. And the thing is we have to be willing to lead our teams in the same way. We have to explain why we're doing things. So number one was responsibility, just to remind everyone we're the great leaders. But number two is we got to explain why we're doing things. We can't just put things in places in our businesses and expect people to follow them. Why? Because they don't know why. You can't just put something in place. They could have negative opinions. You have to explain why and how it affects the greater good of your business. People don't understand. They're not you. They don't have the same mind as you. They're not the entrepreneur. They don't have the experience. They're not in the same trenches as you are. But you need to go into the trenches with them. You need to work alongside of them. And you need to answer the why. Why are we doing the things that we do? What is it that we're trying to accomplish? What are my goals for this company? And how can you guys as employees help? That's how you get them to buy in, and you give them power and responsibility in that dream. Give them access to social media so they can send pictures and do things if they want to. Let them be a part of your business. Number three is kind of what I just said, which is you got to be in the trenches with your employees. If you're not doing what you're asking them to do and they don't see you doing it, they're not going to believe in you. And I suffer from this a lot. I live in Colorado. We have offices in New York, in San Francisco, in Texas, and building one in Georgia, and Roanoke, Virginia, and headquartered in Maryland. And I don't spend enough time at the locations and in the trenches with the employees. That is something that I need to do a better job of. And all of you can do a better job. People respect it when you're willing to do the same things that they are. And it's something that I need to work on. I need to figure out how to integrate it more into my company. I need to figure out how to integrate it where our managers and our supervisors and our leadership teams are spending more time on the floor producing food, for our hospitals and for our long-term care homes and for our co-packers, because they need to see what's going on. How are we going to lead companies if we don't know exactly what's going on? And guess what? We better listen to those employees down in the trenches because they're living it every day. And yes, they may complain and have things that they want that don't line up with the way we see things, but we need to listen. And we need to have an open heart policy and listen that they may know a better way of doing things. And we also need to explain to them what the goals are of the company. So it goes back to the why, because then they understand how they can help in the things that they come talk to you about as managers and leaders and entrepreneurs in your businesses, how it helps your business, or it helps them grow, or it helps the business grow, which helps them grow, or however it is. The fourth thing, which is something I'm starting to work on in our own company, is how do we get beyond the education process of just the people that are working there? How do we train future leaders? How do we train them? How do we make them better leaders? Because if we're willing to train leaders, we ourselves are becoming better leaders, because we're saying to people, guess what? If anything ever happens to me, I'm not the only leader. There's other leaders. And not only that, if we have a chance to grow, there's leaders being put into place that can help the company grow and be in leadership positions. And I don't have a full answer to it, but there's a lot of things out there that we can do. We can set up groups. We can set objectives with our teams when we have meetings. We can talk to them about the things that are important to them. What are their goals? We can ask people if they're interested in leadership. We can recommend books that we're reading. We can do things like that that can help them. And I'm going to talk more about this, I hope, on future episodes, but we need to be cultivating leadership in our youth, in our families, in our teams. And so we need to teach our team members that work for us to be team leaders, not only team managers. And I think that's so important, and it's something we need to do as a whole. And as the 4th of July is coming up, we in this country, everyone knows George Washington, the general during the Revolution for the United States that were rebelling against Great Britain. But here's the thing is, George Washington didn't do it on his own. He had lots of generals. He had lots of men in the military. And it's one of the things I respect about military so much, and military leaders, is how they train leadership and how they do things. And we talked about my friend Andrew Basovich. He was always a leader, but once he went in the military and talking to him and the things that happened, how much of a leader and how much he grew up in leadership because he was during combat, and yes, he passed away, but going through combat changed him and made him a better leader because he was in a crisis situation constantly, and he had to learn to lead on the fly and make improvements. And that's what we need to do in our businesses. It's not just a reaction. It's taking a step back. So number 5, taking a step back from every situation, learning what we can from it, knowing that we could have done something better always, 100% of the time, that no situation is perfect, that we always need to make progress over perfection, and looking back at it and making sure we don't do it again. Because we owe that to our teams. In the military, like I just said, if we're not progressing always as a military, or the people that are there, I said we, but those that are in the military, they then have people die. There are serious consequences, especially during war. People die when military members and leaders aren't doing the best that they can, and that weighs on them. So this is what I want you to think about. What is it that I can do every day to truly lead them and give back to these people and learn? The more I learn, the more I can pass on to the people around me, and the more they can grow. And sometimes they grow within our organizations and leave. That's just the way it is, but at least we're giving humanity and the world a better trained leader for someone else so they can continue to lead, because we want to improve the cycle. We don't want to get lazy as human beings. We want to help our neighbors. We want them to lead. We want to set examples. Ask people if they want mentorship. Ask people how they want to do it. It's not easy mentoring someone, especially when they're lost and they're young. It's hard. But all the young people out there that may or may not listening in, ask for help from a mentor. There are plenty of entrepreneurs out there that are young and really making the world, and we'll learn a little bit more about one that I met at Georgia College named Elena Hamadi, that Deborah and I met, and she's been an entrepreneur for 3 years because she went through hardship. She went through her own personal war that she had to fight something that made her a great entrepreneur. So this is how I want you to look at the circumstance. Every time we go through something hard, I say this, it's another fucking growing opportunity. It's an AFCO. Grow, learn from the opportunity, learn from it, train your team on what you learn, give back to them as human beings, and do what you can for them. Because you owe it to them. Every great thing that we have in our life, we should be grateful for. Grateful to God that He gave it to us. The least we can do is give it back. And that's the same if you're listening on this podcast. Give it to other people. Let them grow too. Spread the word. There is a great movement going on, particularly in the world, about entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs, we give more, we train better leaders, we go out there, we are creative, we solve problems, we know it's worth it because we can make profit off it, we create jobs, we go out there, we help people when they need it. We're the most giving people there are. So go out there, share people's stories, help people out. It's the least you can do. And most of all, this is how I'm going to end it today, is we need to be better leaders to the outside world. We need to lead within our families, because how we lead in our in our lives can also be how we lead at work. I guarantee you that if you lead and figure out ways every day in your life to lead a better way of life and lead the people around you, you'll start leading better with your family, you'll start leading better at work, and you'll start leading in situations that there are. We talk about just open the door for someone, give to someone. Don't just do things, give, show something. What harm does it make to lead and show a better example of the world and humanity? It's contagious. Give it to your employees. You're having an employee that you don't get along with, try to coach him, try to lead him, see what happens. Yes, is it going to take extra time? Yes, is it unfair that you have to give more time to the problem employee than the better employee? Of course, but that problem employee, you're going to see the greatest results out of if they turn around. It's worth it. And when that employee turns around and your team sees that you can turn around a problem employee, they're going to believe in you, because if you can make that problem employee a better employee, you're definitely going to make them better employees and better people and better leaders and better managers and ready for the world. So they will believe in you. So I emphasize this completely. Invest in the people around you and lead them. Give them goals, give them hope, and give them faith. Not only in your business, but in their lives. Because if you're the champion in your business and you guys are winning as a business, it is an amazing thing. And the last thing, I think I'm on 7, but I lost count, is maybe it's number 6, but is don't be afraid to crush the opponent. Now let's go back to the U.S. soccer and being part of a team. They work as a team all year round. They're training. They're getting to know each other. They know everything about each other. They rely on each other. They spend so much time on each other. They know what the other person's shadow looks like, or the other person's voice, or where they are, or every kind of language of communication. They come together as a team, and they have words and phrases and a language, especially in sports, that are in and of itself that only they understand as a team. That's because they spend time practicing a lot as a team. So spend time with your teams. Create those languages. Create that environment. Create that brotherhood. Be a band of brothers in your work and move forward. Go kick some ass. Go look at the U.S. women's soccer team and what they do to be better bonded. They do it. They come together as a team. They fell apart for a few years. A few World Cups didn't do so well, but they're doing it now. Why? Because they have leadership, not only from a coach, but from the players on the field. There is a difference. They have actual true leaders who are ready to bleed, who are ready to sweat, who are ready to give everything that they have to be champions. And everyone's like 13-0 against Thailand. What is that? And why should they do that? And they should run up the score. God damn, they should run up the score. Why? Because that was their first game. They're setting a standard for the rest of the teams to know we're the fucking USA and we're coming and we're going to kick your ass if you come near us. And that's the way business should be. It shouldn't be, oh, let's take it easy. No, every day should be kick some ass. And I'm sorry for using, strong language, but it's how I feel about this. We need to kick ass. Why? We're doing a favor to our opponents. They can be better if they want to improve. They know how good we are. We need to be the best always. You need to set a high standard for everyone in your industry, and you need to be the best you can. You need to run up the score. Why? Because I guarantee you Thailand's not going to let a 13-0 ever happen again in their life. If it were 2-0, they'd be like, oh, we stood a chance, and maybe we don't need to improve. We'll just tweak a few things. 13-0, back to the drawing board. We need to fucking fix our shit. And that's what it is. Give it all. If you're failing at a business, go back to the drawing board. Check your ego at the door, number 8. Check your ego, or number 7, because I lost count. Check your ego at the door and be willing to take criticism, be willing to look at yourself and your responsibilities, and be willing to go back to scratch and redo something if you have to. Because this is important. The resources and my skills and abilities that I use to get where I am today isn't necessarily the same skills or abilities that will move me forward in the future, that will give me the same accomplishment and the same success financially or in my family or in my friendships, because life changes. and we change, and people around us lives change, and their circumstances change. So you gotta always be willing to grow and willing to learn. So check the ego. Just because you did it once, it isn't a badge of honor. You still have to keep improving. You still owe it to the world to be happy. You still owe it to the world to progress, and you still owe it to the world to train leaders for the rest of the world. As an entrepreneur, be a leader. Go out there, take care of your shit, show people that you're worth it, show people that you can be a great leader, and do it. We've got a lot of skills. So as we wrap this up, I'm going to give a few things from the Motivational Mondays that we talked about. Fall forward, meaning don't fear anything, keep moving forward. We talked about the Denzel Washington quote. That's what that is. You want to know about failure? Face fear, face failure. Do it, jump, take that step, jump into it. Face it. Guess what? It's just fear. It's in your head. You can do anything that you set your mind to, including be a great leader even though you think you can't or it's someone else's fault. Stop blaming other people and just do it. Just do it. Get over your shit and just be a great leader. I have to tell myself that in the mirror often. Bizarro, get over your fucking shit and go out there and lead. Stop worrying about the little shit. Go out there and accomplish the big shit one step at a time, one day at a time, and lead the people around you. Stop getting caught up in why you can't do something. And so that's basically where we are. You don't see the U.S. soccer team saying, we didn't win a championship, we can't do it anymore. No, they're fucking leading. And they're going out there and they're kicking ass and they're beating their opponents. And everyone thought France would kick their butt. Guess what? We kicked France's butt. So, that's nothing against the rest of the world that's listening to the podcast, but we are kicking butt in the World Cup. It's something to be proud of. It's great, especially since the U.S. men didn't even qualify for the World Cup last year. Even though I was there and hoping to see them, then I got to see 7 games. Guess what? I meant to get to see 1 fucking game by the United States. Why? Because they weren't there. Because they didn't have a winning attitude and they didn't have leadership that got them there. Bad performance is because of bad leadership, period. That's where it stops and ends. You want your teams to perform, train them. Be a good leader. It's no one else's fault but you who are in charge as the entrepreneur. Thank you, everyone, for listening in. Have a great Monday. Lead better. Lead through example. Motivate through your words. Inspire by your actions. Go out there and do it. We all can do it. And create environments to thrive and create environments where people can learn how to be leaders because we need it in this world. Create more leaders.